That's enough for the two EX teams. Now it's time to see the other two, TMNT for Lyfe and Team Retribution, the two teams that found the victories early on in the first 2 sets of the day. These are the two teams that I think most are expecting to try and get back into the SCL. Gonna have to wait and see how they do. Let's get ready for picks and bans right now and see what they want to go for. It's going to be TMNT for Lyfe right away with that Thanatos ban. We've seen a lot of jungles banned away between our 2 games so far. Taco, Susano, Serket, Ratatosker were banned away the first phase, the first game. Right away, the European SCL seems to be very wary of the potency of assassins right now.
Not even necessarily a jungle ban either, coming out from the side of TMNT. Thanatos, we've seen it a few times, put it into that solo lane, and it is pretty popular at the moment for solo just because of the early pressure it can provide, combined with an assassin for those early game invades. So it looks like TMNT is trying to avoid that, but picking up the Cabrakan immediately,
yeah,
that's a pick that you never have a problem going through on your team.
Absolutely not. Love it. You got the flex pick potential, can play the jungle, can play the solo lane, can even play support and if Trixtank is playing it. Trixtank not on TMNT for Lyfe, but maybe someone who has watched a little bit of Trixtank and try to follow in his footsteps. Khepri and Zeus left open though for Retribution. This is an early strong jungle, or excuse me, mid and support synergy. Zeus, what does he do well? Damage, AoE damage, objective damage, just always damage is in that sentence, but he doesn't survive very well. Khepri kind of alleviates that weakness.
I really like the response from Retribution to opt for the Khepri Zeus picks, considering that Zeus is a character who needs a lot of peel and team fight oriented sustainability, and Khepri can provide just that because having that ultimate online as a Zeus means you get to go in, you get the free cast, have a good time, and most likely get out of any kind of weird situation.
With no worries whatsoever. It's going to be Elexum playing support now for Retribution. Used to be a mid laner for a long time on the European SCL side, so he knows the plight of Zeus players. Hopefully he'll be ready with that Scarab's Blessing. Poseidon and Thor locked in for TMNT for Lyfe, and Hunbats for Retribution. So 4 assassin bans and then 2 taken away before the next banning phase, because can't really afford to ban away 6 assassins and have another one picked and then have a solid pick for your team. Apollo there for Retribution for Jeron. Hercules was still waiting on what could be the jungle, or no, jungler's already selected in for Thor, so that is going to be Cabrakan support, though it could be Hercules support as well. We've seen a little bit of that over in Europe.
Warrior supports are something that Europe is definitely not unkeen to do, and it's also interesting because of the fact that combining Anhur with either Cabrakan or Hercules, that's going to be a really strong laning phase to compensate for that Khepri Apollo push, and it won't let them really run away with a duo lane, and I think that that's kind of the pressure that you would want to compensate for.
Excellent counter picks there for TMNT for Lyfe. Bellona going to be the selection in the solo lane. Not sure exactly who she's going to be going up against, but it's going to be a strong pick regardless. Both Cabrakan and Hercules can really make a big impact. Let's get in the game and see exactly who's going to be able to get a leg up on the competition, as both TMNT for Lyfe and Retribution have 1 point to their name if they're able to grab another one here. Again, not guaranteeing themselves a spot, I don't believe, but really making themselves putting themselves in a great spot to do so.
Not to mention, both these comps are interesting because compared to what we just saw with Excel and Excellence, those two teams had very team fight oriented overall compositions, but Retribution's going more for the AoE kind of base damage control, while TMNT is looking more for the burst. They want to lock one person down, most likely a carry on the side of Retribution, and that's where they could run into a little bit of difficulty considering that they have the Khepri on the side of Retribution.
That's a great point. If Elexum's able to really position himself well in the back line and be in position to save one of those carries who gets jumped on by this composition for TMNT for Lyfe, could be a really big way for Retribution to turn it around very, very quickly. OverPoweredUSB in the middle lane here with his mid laner, but Mr. Turtle going to hang out and give some support courtesy of that Guardian role. See, this is kind of the Luminosity start, I would dub this. You leave your Hunter alone to secure the little guys on red to make sure that the enemy team doesn't just get level 2 just by getting those. You got to make them commit to finishing off the buff, whereas the support here to help out the mid laner as double invades on the right-hand side. Blue buff falls in favor of Retribution. Speed buff actually goes to it was the other way around. Retribution secure their own red or speed buff. Blue buff stolen away by TMNT for Lyfe, but OverPoweredUSB did use his purification there.
That's a really unfortunate situation for TMNT as well, because now they're level 1, and Mr. Turtle could be in a bit of trouble here, but it looks like he's going to just get out of it, still taking a lot of poke damage that he doesn't really want to put himself open for, because now their buffs are still up, and Retribution's pretty hungry right now.
They absolutely are. Pretty healthy as well in comparison. 50-meter fly took a lot of damage, as did Mr. Turtle, like you mentioned. Right-hand Harpies go the way of Retribution. You got some excellent clear early on here for both sides. Zeus, one of the better mages as far as clearing the mid lane goes. As long as he's able to come up, step up to the wave and do so without any sort of danger. Poseidon a little bit better at doing it from a distance. Right side buffs not being invaded though by Retribution, instead trying to secure these oracles, which are very, very important early on especially.
You want the free ward vision on that side of the map just in case you don't want to open yourself up to any early ganks, especially not from a composition that's running Thor. Thor is notorious for ulting from that Gold Fury and getting the upper hand of positioning onto your Hunter. So they want to avoid any kind of that situation happening onto Jeron. So very smart for them to lock those down.
Auzrik a little bit ahead of OverPoweredUSB in terms of raw experience. He spent basically this entire game on that right-hand side, invading that blue buff of the enemy team, as well as just taking waves left and right from Predators. Finally, those two will split as he will reunite with his mid laner, still level 3 for the Poseidon. A little bit behind, as is Mr. Turtle, do that invade on the right-hand side, going the way of Retribution. But either way, both teams fairly close at this stage in the game. And with Retribution's team composition, like you mentioned, they really want to team fight here, Taco. They want to group up as 4 or 5 and try and make it happen. So I expect that they'll try and play this game a little bit slower than TMNT might want to play.
The interesting part about it as well, Minos finding himself in a little bit of trouble here, going to avoid, not just quite. The Thor is going to be enough to pick him up. Not really, because Khepri ult is there.
That's just unfortunate. Now OverPoweredUSB jumps in, but there's no one there to support him, and he immediately is going to pay for it. First blood going the way of TMNT for Lyfe due to a poor decision.
This caster's curse is pretty real right now. I cannot deny that.
So here's what I learned. Just don't say anything or else Hindu gets very angry at you. That's my advice. Just sit here silently, and then he'll get angry at you for that as well, but at least he won't call you stupid. You can't get BM for what you say if you don't talk. Eddie Murphy picture.
Oh,
you get what I'm putting down?
That's a classic one. Yeah, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, but you just gotta wait until they actually die. Sometimes they don't, or sometimes the Batz will just jump into a wave at level 4 and kill himself for you, so you don't really have to worry about it. Fire Elementals go the way of TMNT for Lyfe, as Minos able to push back 2 members, making sure he can actually secure his own blue buff early on here. The first one went in the way of TMNT and the Predators, but this time around, Bellona is going to be able to snag it up herself. Though Bellona, not really the most mana-hungry solo laner, can really rely on the AoE auto attacks after using Bludgeon to clear the wave. You get a lot of Death Toll procs as well. Hercules, on the other hand, really does need that blue buff.
Minos is going to have some disadvantages in this solo lane, though. It's a pretty standard matchup against the Hercules. There's 2 ways for him to try and cancel out her Bludgeon, so Minos is probably going to have to opt for a more safer method of clearing unless he wants to get interrupted every time. But at the same time, if Predators were to mess up, which it doesn't seem like he really has been, considering how much damage Minos seems to be taking from every time Predators is in this lane, Minos could potentially find himself baiting out Predator's ultimate, as well as just getting him onto the wrong side of the lane, which could open him up to ganks, but hopefully this time it won't be a level 4 Batz jumping into him.
Someone there to help him out with an ultimate, maybe, and if that is the case for Retribution, they also have an excellent composition at burning down Gold Furies if TMNT would decide to commit on that right-hand side. You got the Zeus ultimate, which is excellent, and knocking down that objective very, very quickly. Auzrik looked like he used that Anvil of Dawn, wasn't able to find it, but Minos still in a little bit of trouble on this right-hand side. A lot of trouble as he never even gets the Eagles rally off. Predators on the mark that time around, but just like I was talking about, Gold Fury very easily taken there by Retribution. They do have to commit both Fear No Evil and Lightning Storm, but that's worth it at this stage in the game.
A lot of pressure being applied onto the soul lane unnecessarily, and it looks like Mr. Turtle could help set up 50-meter fly. Waldrom's going to fall because of it.
Great Kraken there, knowing exactly where Waldrom had to go, and Waldrom doesn't have the Aegis, instead opted for the Purification Beads and really made him pay that time around. No way to get out of the Kraken, though I do respect and like the decision to hold on to that Purification Beads, because my man was dead, no matter what there.
Yeah, easy recognition. Once you get trapped inside that Cabrakan ultimate and you see the whirlpool right at your feet, there's no point at that point in time to try and use those beads, because not only are you opening up yourself to most likely getting ganked by the Thor right after, but you just don't need to expend that.
Welshbeastq taking a lot of damage on the left. There's Desert's Fury trying to return a little bit of what he took onto the duo lane for Retribution, but you get both the ultimate and the purification beads out. Overpowered USB can't quite stop the back. Welsh pretty lucky there in that left side jungle. How's this matchup really shake down here, Taco, in the duo lane, Apollo versus Anhur?
Anhur definitely gets the upper hand in this duo lane early on, but that's just Anhur in general. He's such a strong boxer. He's one of the hardest hitting ADCs in the game, especially from the start. And with him opting for the Transcendence build, he's going to be dealing a lot more damage than Jeron from the get-go, and so Jeron really needs to play this carefully. I like his option to go straight into boots, provide himself a little bit of peeling away from Anhur's pillar and setup, but Waldrom might not be able to say the same. Batz ultimate coming through, and Auzrik could be in a bit of trouble here.
There's the Lightning Storm as well. Pluck not quite in time from Elexum. Kraken just trying to keep a little space out there, but Elexum locked in. There's the Scarab's Blessing, and love the decision from the rest of Retribution to break the wall, to give Elexum a path out. Nice team play there in the middle lane in the 3v3 core.
And there you can see the Khepri ultimate just being such a nuisance already. That's twice now that Retribution has managed to stay alive because of that Khepri ultimate and disengage safely from these awkward scenarios.
It looked like the target selection was a little bit split up there for TMNT, because Auzrik finds a great wall, cutting off both Elexum and Waldrom, and then finds a huge double tap that puts Waldrom down to half HP, but Mr. Turtle seemed committed to going on to the support player. I guess it's kind of the threat of that Khepri ult is enough to deter you from going on a carry, even like Zeus, who's so immobile.
The mindset there is typically if we can take out the Khepri or at least force him to use his ultimate on himself, then these other characters like the Zeus, who's already poked out to half HP, are more susceptible to dying. And so it could be the safer route. It's slightly less aggressive and a little bit harder to try and secure onto a Khepri, especially with the T1 tower there so early on, and that'll be chunking away at TMNT's life. But at the same time, it is Khepri, and sometimes you just get unlucky.
Mr. Turtle, nice use of his first ability to get out of that root there from Elexum. Definitely making use of that Cabrakan kit. Has a whole lot ready to use, and Mr. Turtle doing a pretty good job so far, setting up in the middle lane on the right-hand side. Minos again in trouble. Stop me if you've heard that one before. He is able to use his ultimate this time around, but Predators may be able to just straight up dive him. No response quite yet coming out of Retribution. I think that TMNT just figured someone would be heading over to help the solo laner out. It wasn't the case, but the threat was quite enough.
I don't think that they want to really overextend too much. They don't want to find themselves in an awkward scenario. And speaking of overextending, right now, Auzrik looking to try and fight out Overpowered in the jungle, but looks like he's going to get out just fine to the T2.
Predators has really been a bully on this right-hand side all game long. 2-0-1. He's been a part of every single kill so far early on here for TMNT. Really just making it happen on this Hercules. Still hasn't quite gotten that tower, but getting pretty close already pre-10 minutes. Love the decision to go for the health chalice as well. It has a little bit of sustain in the kit, of course, with the mitigate wounds, but it does take a little bit for that to start to be the really big heal burst that you see in the mid to late stages of the game, though he is getting pretty close, sitting at level 11 already.
That's kind of what you want to do as Hercules, though. You want to bully out your lane opponent as much as possible, especially when the matchup's in your favor. Overpowered, forced to use the ultimate, but nobody was following him.
Predator's not going to be able to find the pull, but the boulder isn't going to be on the mark either. Meanwhile, Waldrom got caught at the wrong spot in the jungle, and the Kraken gobbled him up for TMNT for Lyfe to find their 4th kill at the 10-minute mark. Tier 1 tower falls in the solo side, making use of that pressure brought to that solo side by Predators and Auzrik, who spent quite a bit of time over here trying to bully out Minos from the solo lane. Definitely starting to pay dividends already. Opens up this portal demon possibility. Overpowered's here, but without that Fear No Evil, it's going to be difficult for him to stop this.
They can't really deter it, and fighting into it could be devastating. He's got the level 12 Hercules following right behind him. Meditation already used. You can tell they wanted to engage, but it's just too little too soon, and there's just no way for them to compensate or back down or get TMNT to back down from that portal demon.
And they do secure it, so 150 gold to each member of TMNT for Lyfe, as well as the use of a free portal there to get back. On the left-hand side, Auzrik looking to dunk down onto Jeron, who's pushing this tower down. Not quite in range, and there's across the sky. That's what makes Apollo so difficult to deal with. As soon as he sees or hears any trouble, he's out of there.
Forcing out the Apollo ultimate early on is strong, though, considering that now he's losing that split push potential, and they're going to be watching that side for sure pretty heavily. OverPoweredUSB trying to make the run for his life. He's got speed buff to use to his advantage, and it doesn't seem like they'll be able to lock him down. He's going to back out safely. Pretty lucky for him, considering how low he was. And if he'd gone down, they probably would have just looked for a grouping and tried to pressure somewhere.
Waldrom not in a good spot here, all by his lonesome in the middle lane. Kraken about a country mile too far out, but there's the ultimate for Mr. Turtle. Not going to matter, as he's going to be able to pick up that kill in the middle lane, no problem whatsoever. TMNT really taking it to Retribution in terms of kills, but the gold difference really isn't there right now.
Not very efficient farming on the side of TMNT. The fact that Retribution is only maybe 900 gold behind at this point in time, considering how many kills they have on the board. And you have to factor in that first blood as well is 400 of that gold. So the lead really not as substantial as you would imagine to be, and a lot of it due to Jeron being a level up onto Welshbeastq, but he could be in a little bit of trouble here as the ultimate's going to come out from Anhur, forcing the Aegis from Jeron, but he's going to be just fine. Able
to escape just barely, does still have that purification almost there for Auzrik. Really love the idea of trying to block off that dash from Jeron, but just not quite there in time, though you do get the Aegis. Welshbeastq also uses purification beads there. Was he beadsing? It may have been the knock-up from the moves. Could have also been trying to make sure he didn't get mezzed out by the Apollo.
Preempted beads onto Apollo Mesmerize is a pretty popular thing, especially as an Anhur when you want to lock down that kill as soon as possible, because you're always concerned that somebody's going to be following up, especially with the Khepri on the map. You never really know where that Khepri is going to be coming from, and we saw Elexum actually coming out of the jungle last minute there, so Jeron was probably in the clear that entire time, but still a pretty safe choice by Welshbeastq and Auzrik just to try and lock down the kill as soon as possible.
Taking a look at Jeron's build here, we already talked about how he went for his boots right off the bat. Now almost finished with that Devourer's Gauntlet at the 13-minute mark. That's a pretty good pace to be able to finish that off. Hold that thought, Kraken onto Elexum there. They baited the ward beautifully, did TMNT for life, but just don't have the burst damage to finish off the support quite yet. Predators still waiting on the boulder, but it's not going to be there. Does a lot of damage to Waldrom though, but there's the Fear No Evil onto Auzrik. Both his relics used, trying to get away. The jump over the top of Minos, finally able to put Retribution on the board.
And safe enough, Mr. Turtle responding immediately, picking up Waldrom right there. That's the Cabrakan damage that you don't want to say is going to happen every single time onto that support, but he still packs a punch no matter what he's building in these early stages.
I mean, he's got the Void Stone Taco. He's going for this sort of hybrid build. He's not really worried about that tankiness, and it's showing. He's got no deaths, 2 kills, 3 assists as well. Gold Fury started up here. Desert's Fury is available for Welshbeastq. There aren't a whole lot of ultimates that can maybe contest this. As you can see, Minos on the right-hand side along with Jeron. Retribution deciding they don't want to try and contest this whatsoever, really. Little Sacred Monkey bounce, but that's about the only contest that Retribution tried to go for there. Are you surprised that they didn't try and contest that?
Not really. Considering that the Batz ultimate was already expended in that mid lane team fight, there's not really much of an opportunity for him to try and deter TMNT off of that Gold Fury. They were aware that that ultimate had already been used.
Great wall from Auzrik is going to block off Jeron and Minos. Jeron, he's got a chariot to take him out of there, but Minos doesn't have anything of the sort. Eagles Rally gets a little bit of distance between him and the rest of the team, and a great chain lightning as well. A little bit of miscommunication there between Waldrom and OverPoweredUSB as he actually pushes him out of that Zeus ultimate. Really only one was needed to deter the chase there from TMNT, but better safe than sorry.
Probably should have let them keep on engaging into that narrow alleyway for the Zeus ultimate to really have an impact. But the Thor ult, they want Waldrom and they want him now. They're trying to lock down this Zeus. Khepri's right there on the backhand, but it looks like Waldrom might be able to pick up Auzrik because of it, and he does end up falling to Jeron.
Jeron able to pick up his first kill of the game. Mr. Turtle trying to get away from the rest of Retribution, who he has angered with his aggressive play in this jungle. Elexum waiting on that abduct, but a nice tidal surge there from 50-meter fly. Gives Turtle enough distance for the time being. Still waiting on it. There's the abduct onto the support, but the Kraken is waiting for him. The turnaround is good here for TMNT. Predators finds 2 with the pickup and the push underneath the tier 1 tower, but doesn't have the boulder to finish either of them off. What could have been a great highlight reel play, once again shut down by those pesky cooldowns. Welshbeastq actually jumps over into the tower and has to use his Aegis because of it. Very aggressive play out of the Hunter, and he's going to pay for it with his life. Overpowered says, I did that once, young one. I jumped in when I shouldn't have, and I'll show you what happened to me.
And that is exactly what Overpowered looked like at level 4, except this time Welshbeastq is level 15. A little bit too excited to try and pick up that kill onto Waldrom, knowing that his actives had been, they weren't even expended. They were actually both still available to him. So for him to jump over the wall there and look for the engage is just kind of questionable, really.
Curious decision from the Hunter, but either way, it's only his first death of the game, still sitting pretty at 0, 1, and 0. Can definitely get back into this game. Portal Demon started up once more by TMNT. Overpowered's here, and he's got the Fear No Evil this time around, but the teleport in from Predators means the numbers advantage is even heavier in favor of the blue squad. Great zoning onto the Hunbats. Fear No Evil never comes out until after the Portal Demon's completed, but they're going to be able to pick up Mr. Turtle with that ultimate. Predators could be the next to fall. 4 members here. There's Eagle's rally, and the Kraken not going to be able to hit anybody, but it does zone away the rest of the team. Fly and Predators trying to get away from the dive from the jungler and solo laner. 3-man pickup, but 0-man push for Predators. Auzrik comes crashing down, trying to answer back.
And it looks like the Thor ultimate is going to find a response. Zeus ultimate expended as well, but it doesn't even matter. Predator's still going to pick up the kill, but Jeron in the backline. Fatalis starting to take off. The gas pedal is on, and Predators will fall.
50-meter fly still in the jungle, trying to pick up his jungle opponent, and Overpowered does manage to secure the speed buff for his jungler, but with him being dead for 27 seconds, someone else going to have to take advantage of this buff. I don't think they know Jeron's still there on the back camps. He's just having a grand old time, strolling through the enemy jungle, not a care in the world.
Oh, he's looking for that Poseidon. He's waiting for it. He's gonna Waldrom though. He's not having a good time right there. There goes the Aegis pop, and just like that, he's going to fall down to a 50-meter fly. Not really much of a way for him to escape from the Cabrakan, especially not one with a speed buff.
Not quite, especially when even with that wing blade for Waldrom. And I like the defensive-oriented build he's gone for, but it just hasn't been enough to save his life, really. 0, 5, and 6 for the mid laner. But you know what? I mean, there's been so much focus onto him for TMNT for Lyfe. It has allowed the rest of his team to have a lot of room in these team fights and allow them to win the majority of them.
Jeron just secretly and silently farming away in the back line and engaging at the right times, using the chariot to his full effect, because the way that he's sliding into the back when the Batz ultimate is going off, when the Zeus ultimate is going off, there's so much chaos happening on the map that a lot of times TMNT is overlooking his presence and forced to use the chariot away, but it looks like he could be trying to engage somewhere else, or he could just be returning to his tower. Either way, he's going for a little cruise.
Either way, I think it's time for TMNT to really take a look at what they've been doing and say, okay, we did it. We shut down Zeus. He's level 13 at 19 minutes. He's got 5 deaths. It's time to shift our focus over to the level 19 Hunter. Jeron has got a huge lead for himself on this Apollo, 3 levels up over Welshbeastq, and that's sort of a test of how far along a team is. If you're able to make a game plan before the game, come in and execute it, that's great, but you have to be able to change it up, and it's time to change up the strategy for TMNT. They pull this Gold Fury, a lot of ultimates available on both sides. There's the Kraken, and it is going to secure it for the blue squad. The rest of Retribution trying to make a pay for it. A great Fear No Evil pushes Mr. Turtle back into the rest of the squad. Auzrik still wants to go in. He's able to pick up Overpowered without a problem, but Mino still was in the back line, putting down the Hunter. Welshbeastq with his 3rd death.
Auzrik on the run, and really smart counter-engaged by Retribution. They recognize that the Kraken is falling down to try and secure that Gold Fury, and immediately Retribution just follows suit and chase them, and now they're going to respond by picking up this tower in the mid lane, potentially pushing this T2, considering that there's only 3 members alive on the side of TMNT.
There's the hammer in from Auzrik. That might put him in a bad spot, but the pluck is on a Predators, and he takes quite a bit of damage very, very quickly. Jeron has that chin size completed, and it's starting to swing up against the mid or solo laner for TMNT, who really only has that Breastplate of Valor and a bunch of HP, and that's not really what you want up against a chin size build. HP doesn't really help you a whole lot.
No, HP definitely works against you in this scenario. Considering that he's trying to fight into the chin size, it'll be really difficult for Predators to frontline at this point in time, especially now that Jeron is level 19. And next item, whether he opts to build into Pen or into Crit, either way, he'll still be chunking away super hard at TMNT. And if they're not careful, he will tear away at their backline, especially when his passive is procced on Apollo.
Despite the big lead for Jeron, it's TMNT who have the gold lead overall, but it's negligible at this stage of the game. 1,600 gold at 20 minutes is not very much of a lead whatsoever. You're really looking at the individual leads in terms of item spikes and power spikes in terms of levels as well, and that certainly belongs to Retribution with that Hunter being so far ahead. The rest of the team basically even on Waldrom, who's eaten those 5 deaths. He's been a part of 8 of the 9 kills for Retribution. He's right underneath 50-meter fly in terms of damage overall, so he hasn't been ineffective in terms of doing his job. It's just been that whole staying alive part that's been the difficulty.
TMNT has also been playing very aggressively around these objectives, doing whatever they can to try and secure them. And at the same time, while they're managing to pick up the objectives, it's still not an ideal situation if you're consistently having 1, 2, 3 members falling because of it and expending all of your ultimates trying to pick up the gold from them, because while they're compensating for their end by securing everything, at the same time, Retribution has been given so many avenues to collapse onto them that if TMNT aren't careful, especially with the Batz ultimate and a Zeus ultimate being available on the side of Retribution majority of the time that they're getting collapsed on, they could very well find themselves in a situation they don't want to be in.
Both these teams have a lot of tenured players on their rosters in terms of the EU, SCL. Elexum and Jeron have been around basically since the beginning on the European side of the console league. 50-meter fly, Welshbeastq, Auzrik, Predators, all these dudes played in Season 3 as well, so you know that they want to get back into that top level of competition. Welshbeastq not afraid to take the boxing match up against Jeron, and he's winning it very, very easily. There's the Aegis from Jeron. One more auto attack is all Welshbeastq needs, but the Impale's going to take him down. That is a huge solo kill for TMNT for Lyfe. We've been talking so much about how far ahead Jeron is, but Welshbeastq takes the boxing match and wins it.
Taking up a boxing match inside of an Anhur's pillar is not really something you want to do as an ADC. He's automatically going to be hitting harder than you because of his passive being applied, as well as the extra damage hitting for you because you're inside of that pillar sand, and Elexum could meet the same fate if he's not careful.
But the rest of Retribution is here. Here's the teleport in from Minos. There's the Fear No Evil onto Auzrik, but he teleports to him over the wall. Great play from OverPoweredUSB. Picks up the enemy jungler, puts Retribution into the 10-kill region, matching up with just one behind. TMNT for Lyfe. Predators might be in a little bit of trouble here as well. Surrounded by the enemy team, sundered there by Minos as well. Really trying to pick him up. There's the slow from Somersault. Actually did not connect from that jump onto Hunbatz. Predators is going to be able to escape with his life intact. 1 for 1 at the end of the day. Retribution still looking to play aggressively though, and Jeron uses that portal demon that Retribution was able to secure while he was getting soloed on the left-hand side to get back into this fight very, very quickly. There's the pluck on the Predators, but again, just not a whole lot of damage following up.
Welshbeastq trying to play it as carefully as he can. He's already plugged down to under half health. Khepri ultimate is available on the side of Retribution, so they can be a little bit more reckless engaging into this T2 tower than what TMNT can be fighting into it.
There's the pluck onto Elexum, the stun there as well from Mr. Turtle, but cannot find the lockdown or the Kraken. Just a little bit late on both of those ultimates. But Predators, he's got your back. He's going to find him once more. There's the Scarab's Blessing. The rest of Retribution is just so hesitant to go in. Just no support there. There's the dunk in from Auzrik, trying to find Waldrom. He doesn't have the support to save his life this time around. Lightning Storm giving him a little bit of space, but Welshbeastq jumps over the wall, needs to find the auto attacks. Overpowered, trying to help his mid laner. Welsh, who's doing a great job of juking around those auto attacks from Welshbeastq, but he's separated from the rest of the squad. Gonna be very difficult for that Zeus to survive, and he will not. 6 deaths for the mid lane mage. Another pluck onto Minos, stunned as well. It's gonna be difficult for TMNT to pick up the solo laner though. And again, I'm just surprised at how little help Elexum got. He got plucked on the tower 2 times, and Retribution was just so scared to help him out.
Retribution really did not want to try and fight with their support underneath that T2 tower, which, like you said, is interesting, but Jeron could be looking for the fight here on Fire Giant.
Trying to dissuade TMNT for going for it. They don't have the Kraken to secure it. They're really relying on that boulder, but instead Jeron not worried about the objective, worried about the kills, going for the mid laner or the hunter, but a great pillar stun or impale there. 50-meter fly does fall to the hand of OverPoweredUSB, as will Welshbeastq. Mr. Turtle picks up the enemy hunter in response. Auzrik trying to do as much damage as he can with that Berserker's Barrage. But Minos, the dive is on, but a great teleport to that hammer, and Mr. Turtle locks in Minos. Third death there for the Soul Laner. Excellent peel across the team there for TMNT.
The outplay was pretty strong on the side of TMNT there. Minos getting a little bit baited, sees the low HP Thor, but the hammer teleport, that's just something you never want to see happen, especially not when you're diving so low. And Predators could potentially be in some trouble here.
A lot of trouble. There's the Fear No Evil. He's not going to be able to get out of that one. He's played so aggressive all game. Waldrom finally gets himself on the board with that kill. Like the idea there from Predators, he teleports in knowing that the enemy team is going to their speed buff, but the rest of TMNT was not on that same page as their Soul Laner. He's going to get picked off, and this isn't a great time to do it because TMNT had just gotten a man advantage. They had just started to get an opportunity to try and pull out that Fire Giant once more, but now it's going to be Retribution who's got a little bit of the advantage, especially with Predator's teleport being down. It's going to be about 35-40 seconds before he's able to get to a fight around the Fire Giant.
It's really difficult for TMNT to try fighting into the composition of Retribution at this stage in the game, considering that the Khepri ultimate shining through as hard as it is, but the cooldown on that bot's ultimate really coming into play here. He's spamming that ult whenever it's available, whether it's to lock down one kill or whether it's to engage with the team fight. But either way, it's coming out strong, and it's causing a lot of disorientation into TMNT, and they're having a lot of difficulties fighting around this.
Retribution not comfortable enough to pull up that Fire Giant quite yet, but they are looking at this Gold Fury. Jeron going to be able to tank that up without any sort of issue, really, due to those Devour Gauntlets being complete. He has gone for this penetration-oriented build. No crit for him. It's got the Titan's Bane. Looks like it could be a Brawler's Beatstick as his last item, trying to shut down the healing from Hercules would be my guess. We usually don't see the Mace Tree being built outside of Titan's Bane for hunters, specifically of hunters like Apollo, who are not really ability-based, but rather auto-attack-based. Would you have rather seen him go for a different item, or do you think the Brawlers could fit here?
Considering that he opted to build into the Chins after finishing off the Devour's Gauntlets and the Fatalis, I feel as though he felt a lot more comfortable building into the Mace Tree, because when you opt for Chins, you want that pen to really come through for you. And I guess what they're having an issue with is they want to really lock down this Hercules and not have to expend a bot's ultimate to keep him from using his abilities to survive for so long. So if they can have the Brawler's passive being applied onto the Hercules, it'll make it much easier in the long run for them to just lock down that kill right away, shred the Hercules, and then get into that backline of TMNT.
Also great at pushing down the towers, and Jeron's been trying to do that. Predators, he's the focus once more for Retribution as we get right back in from that pause. No ultimates expended by either side, though. We're 27 minutes in. Only a handful of level 20s, though. OverPoweredUSB and Jeron both level 20. Whereas on the other side, I believe it's only Welshbeastq for TMNT for Lyfe. An even game at the 27-minute mark. Gold Fury getting pretty low here, but TMNT not willing to give it up. There's the abduct onto Predators once more, but again, a lack of committal. Mr. Turtle deep into the back line trying to lock him down. There's the Kraken and the dunk in. Jeron getting low. Lightning Storm tries to zone away the enemy team. Desert Fury through everyone. A nice pickup and push down by Predators, but just not enough damage to punch through anyone quite yet until the tremors from Mr. Turtle. Big dividends for TMNT. 2 fall immediately. Welshbeastq, seen this one before, jumps into the tier 1 tower, but this time it's a different story as he picks up Waldrom. 3 dead for Retribution, and TMNT break it wide open.
Auzrik is the unsung hero of that team fight entirely. Getting that Thor wall and locking off Retribution from being able to safely escape from the jungle into their Team 1 tower area, that came in so clutch for TMNT, and just picking up those kills because of that Thor wall, just absolutely phenomenal.
Very surprised to see TMNT go for a Gold Fury. At 28 minutes, when you get 3 down and the only 2 available don't have their ultimates up, you really expect to push towards the Fire Giant. Instead, the blue squad decide they need the gold from that Gold Fury. May back and try and push down that Fire Giant, but by this time, both Waldrom and Jeron will have respawned. A big window of opportunity that I really don't think TMNT maximized.
I mean, these guys have been fighting non-stop since the start of this game. That's probably the main reason why we don't see too many level 20s coming through, because of the lack of fire coming out on both ends, since they've just been doing a lot of group fights. But I do agree with you. It is kind of uncommon to see 3 picks go through at this stage in the game and a Fire Giant to not be opted for. But at the same time, maybe they just want to brawl.
Maybe they just want to keep on fighting. Predators clearly does, as he's picked up a Frenzy Ritual, not worried about finishing his last item off, just trying to boost his entire team towards these team fights a little bit stronger for a 5-second duration. Portal Demon is started up, but Welshbeastq is all alone on this left-hand side. He did take the 1v1 against Jeron earlier on and won it pretty easily. Maybe try to do it again, but on the right-hand side, 50-meter fly, he's going to be able to pick up OverPoweredUSB with that Kraken. Elexum, he could be next on the list. Lightning Storm does a good job of creating space, but again, it's Predators with the pickup and the pushdown. Auzrik looking for Waldrom, gonna not hit the dunk, but don't gotta worry about hitting that Berserker Barrage. A lot of damage onto Waldrom. Jeron is here, trying to support his mid laner. Nice stun right away though from the jungler, but a 2v1, not gonna be able to get out of that one. Jeron picks up his 6th kill, halfway to a dozen. Another pickup onto Elexum. Could be in trouble here, Taco.
That's one of those team fights that just went so wrong for Retribution because Jeron was on the other side of the map. He was trying to get that split push off, but with Welshbeastq there to defend, just unable to really find the upper hand of this. And Mr. Turtle going to be just off the mark for locking down Elexum there. So I'm sure Elexum's pretty happy getting away by barely on the skin of his teeth.
Well, that's exactly what you draw up when you're playing Apollo. You force the enemy hunter to the left side of the map that doesn't have a global ultimate, and then you just immediately ult over. As soon as the engagement happens, Retribution able to turn it around despite losing overpowered USB very, very early on that right-hand side. 3 members left here on the right side for TMNT is going to be enough to try and get this Portal Demon, though it hasn't been secured quite yet. They will grab it, Portal glowing blue, but they might lose a couple members for it. Predators actually going to be able to get out A-OK. I thought that Retribution may try and make a play happen. I like this idea. A little cheeky here from Retribution, but they are on a ward, so I think TMNT are going to smartly decide to just walk back to the Fire Giant.
Or they all group up and run through it at the same time and just try to fight it out. But it looks like they're going to try and avoid that as much as possible.
Well, there's a teleport in on the backside. Predators is going to be able to get there before Minos can stop him. He's pretty far ahead of the rest of his team, but Welshbeastq is here to support him. Not able to find that impale. Jeron really going to be looking for Predators in every single one of these engagements. He's the one who can really deal damage to that tanky Hercules. Still hasn't hit level 20 quite yet. Auzrik up into Anvil of Dawn, looking to make the impact. He's going to come around right onto Jeron, but the rest of TMNT is there. Retribution is there to peel off the enemy from their hunter. Fear No Evil was using Minos, isolated in the jungle. Scarab's Blessing still up though, so it's so difficult for TMNT to fully commit to one player.
But the poke out onto Minos is going to be massive here. He's going to have to back for sure. He can't really afford to try and fight into this Fire Giant. And now with the Minos backing and the Frenzy pop, TMNT are looking for this. They're going to secure it.
No problem whatsoever. All 5 members have it. Minos has teleported back in, but it might be into the wrong situation as Predators finds Waldrom with the stun. Scarab's Blessing onto the mid laner a little bit too early, unless 50-meter fly is going to pop it as Welshbeastq finds Jeron, but actually just pops him in a bad spot. Waldrom gonna fall to Predators as well. Elexum next on the list. The rest of TMNT gonna chase down the bug. 3 dead. All 5 members of TMNT have that Fire Giant. Flickering Ritual gets Welshbeastq away from the damage from Minos. Doesn't have his ultimate. 4 dead. Only Overpowered is here, and he's got no Fear No Evil. He's gonna have to be really overpowered to turn this one around.
This is looking like a game for sure for TMNT. There's just not really much of a way for them to lose this at this point in time. They're looking for the kill onto Overpowered. They really want to kill him, pick up his beads. He's gonna run back safely into the fountain, but not for long. So what'll go down first, the Titan or Overpowered?
Looks like it might be the Titan, though he does teleport in. Either way, TMNT for life. They're gonna pick up their 2nd victory of the relegation period here, putting themselves in a great spot to move on to the spring split of the EUSCL. It wasn't clean, it wasn't easy, it took them a little bit, but they end up finding the victory anyways.
I'm sure that they're more than happy to pick up that best-of-1 victory against Retribution, especially considering that both of those teams were even when going into this set. So overall, at the very least, they picked up the win, and at the end of the day, that's what matters the most.
A W is a W is a W. It doesn't matter how you got it. 50-meter fly, and the rest of everyone else did not on Retribution. It was, or excuse me, he did. He's on TMNT for Lyfe. It was such a long game that my brain is just completely frazzled. Really made a lot of impact. And it was always Mr. Turtle and 50-meter fly in the mid lane, combining to really pick on this immobile Zeus.
Excellent lockdown capabilities coming through when you had the Cabrakan set up for the Whirlpool and Kraken. And overall, just really strong usage of it. And Predators at the same time, he was a bully from the very start of this game, completely abusing Minos in that solo lane, having a massive lead, and it showed when the late game and mid game fights started coming through, and he's just there dominating the entire time.
Yeah, he was really a frontline presence for TMNT. The Retribution did have an answer for Welshbeastq. This is really the turning point for me. Retribution looked like they were going to start to take this victory until this solo kill happened on the left-hand side, and Welshbeastq didn't have any lifesteal. Jeron has a fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlets, and he's 2 levels up. Really surprised we didn't see that go the other way around. Mr. Turtle, again, we mentioned him already, really worked very well together with 50-meter fly in that mid lane to make it happen. The Cabrakan, absolutely a top pick in the meta right now, and Mr. Turtle showing us exactly why. Let's take a look at the standings to see exactly where we're sitting. 4 games in to the relegation period here. Everyone has played 2 matches. TMNT for Lyfe, the only team at the 2-0 mark. Remember, the top 2 teams move on to the European Spring Split SCL. Both Retribution and Team Excellence 1-1, so really look for these two to continue to brawl it out throughout the rest of the day. That's going to do it for the middle 2 sets here for today, at least the third and fourth sets. We're going to go to a quick break, but we'll have more European relegation action as soon as we return.